which is not just their crisis management manager. I'm their therapist.
And those mistakes could be a killer. Imagine it's 3 a.m. and your phone won't stop buzzing. You wake up to a PR nightmare. My guest today is Juda Engelmayer. He is one of the world's foremost experts in crisis communication and PR. Brands call him, Fortune 500 companies call him, and celebrities call him. He is the guy you call if you need to fix a crisis problem. Juda, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate the intro. I appreciate being here.
Oh, you are very welcome. So in that particular situation where it's 3 a.m. for a brand owner, CEO, decision maker, C-level exec, your phone's going crazy, how do you identify you're in an actual crisis? How do you know?
Well, so very often when people call me up, unless they've had me on retainer for routine PR and then something happens, if they just have an issue, it's going to be fast acting and fast moving. It's something, or at least first in their head, something happens that they believe it's about a storm is about to hit, and they want to get at bay. The problem I have is that you can't work that quickly without knowing the situation, and anything you do to move that quickly without knowing what you're getting into is irresponsible. So the first thing you have to do is calm everybody down. Listen to everything that's going on, ask as many questions as you can, listen to what the client or the attorneys are saying very carefully, take it all and absorb it and contemplate. You cannot give an answer right away. If the question is, media is calling me up and they're going to write a story in 5 minutes, what do I say? That becomes slightly different, because what you want to do is get a hold of that media. And I will never, ever, ever recommend to a client that the client was unavailable, that the commentary of the client was unavailable, or the client had no comment. But I would get on the phone and say, listen, I realize that you're writing a story. It's landing in 10 minutes. We're prepared to answer a question. We will be prepared to answer everything you have to say, but we need a bit more time than that. If you have to run a story, write a story that you reached us and we're preparing a response. Don't write that we weren't there, we didn't respond, and our answer was no comment.
So one of the key mistakes that a company can make is jumping into the fire without having a strategy or understanding the facts behind it.
Right. Well, a lot of clients, unfortunately, think that the very fact that they hired a crisis PR guy or a crisis law firm or whatever means that their problems are solved. You know, it's not. Just hiring me doesn't solve the problem. You got to let me in. You got to let me know what's going on. You got to give me the information I need to work with. It's very important that we take the time to work it out, to figure it out, to understand completely what we're dealing with before you go out to the public. Because the one thing that'll lose credibility, to help you lose credibility even more, your client as well as the crisis PR guy, is to go in there blind, make comments that the media calls you out on as being wrong or irresponsible or lying, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to dial that back. You have to control this. Basically, I have to control my environment. As a crisis communicator, one thing I am to clients, I don't just not just their crisis management manager. I'm their therapist. Sometimes they call me up and they want to move so quickly. They have a lot of things on their mind. I have to be able to negotiate with them, deal with them, hear them, be empathetic, understand what they're saying, and then come back then with a solution that's going to be, let's slow down, listen, and prepare.
And I think one of the benefits about bringing you or an expert into the mix, especially outside of their normal corporate environment, is you're not emotionally attached to the situation at hand. And it's not your phone that's necessarily buzzing with negative press or buzzing with negative social media comments. And then, so for the brand to start feeling that pressure, it sounds like it leads to mistakes, and those mistakes could be a killer.
Well, so you're right about one thing, is that I can remove myself in situation because I'm not part of it. But one thing that the more you get into it, the more you become attached to it. So you have to always keep that distance, at least emotionally and intellectually, to know that in order for me to respond properly to the press outside and to the media, to the requests, the stakeholders, shareholders, who knows who's asking, customers, clients, whoever it is that might be clamoring for their pound of flesh. I have to be able to remove myself from it, knowing that there's always another side of the story. There is someone else who has a different opinion for different reasons. Their experiences were different, and I have to appreciate that. And all your responses, any response, any action that you do has to always take into account, at least intellectually, at the very least intellectually, that there is another side. I can't be tone deaf and just keep on repeating my own lines as if everyone's just going to agree with me because I say it.
How did you get into this line of work, right? I often hear you referred to as the Ray Donovan of a public relations world. You are the fixer. Do you just wake up one day, you're 24, and this happens? Like, so what is the story for you to really kind of get into this world?
So, well, it's a good question. It's a valid question, and the answer is haphazardly I got into it. I graduated college with a degree in English and journalism, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. My father was a journalist, so I followed that. I write well, and I love politics. I love policy. I love advocacy, and I like to write about those issues. Throughout my college years, I wrote for the school newspaper about various protests on campus and tuition issues and different problems between different clubs and different groups of demographics on campus. And when I graduated college, I'm like, wow, I could do absolutely nothing with this degree. So I lived on the Lower East Side, and I was always involved with my local political machine down there, which is the Democratic machine. And my local assemblyman was a guy named Sheldon Silver, who happened to be the Speaker of the New York State Assembly, which is right after the governor, it's the most powerful position in the state.
Oh, wow.
Shelley was a personal friend of my family's, so I was able to go to his office and say, I just graduated school. I got nothing to do with my time. Can I volunteer for you, to fit fair what I'm doing?
Volunteer. So you weren't even asking for a job.
I wasn't asking for a job, no, because I was getting, no one ever has any money to hire. You know that. So particularly in government, nobody wants to hire. So I started volunteering, and he assigned me to constituency work, and I started helping him write newsletters and going to meetings around the community, listening, writing down what people are saying, going back to him, and then formulating answers, then coming back to the constituencies with the answers that we developed, or at least addressing their needs or concerns, telling them that we hear it and we're going to try to figure something out. After about 6 weeks of doing that on a volunteer basis, he hired me full time, and within half a year of that, one of my resumes came through working for the Anti-Defamation League right around the time when the Crown Heights Riot in New York broke out in 1991. And the Crown Heights Riots were a race relations issue between the black community and the Chabad, the Lubavitch Jewish community. And there was some complaints that in the community there was preferential treatment towards one side over another. And the head rabbi of Lubavitch movement at the time, Reb Moshe Schneerson, was in a motorcade being driven by his followers. They were going somewhere, and during his motorcade, somebody who was trying to attach themselves to the motorcade hit a black child and killed him. I need to influence a certain group of people. I need a certain group of stakeholders to hear my story. So this is where you get into using local billboards and advertising to highlight the issue, to put out possibly your print up your own newspapers with stories in it and hand them out around the vicinity of where your area is. What you want to do is you want to embarrass or highlight the issues of this judge or the prosecutor in such a way where they'll be embarrassed, and maybe they'll have to do the right thing, stick to the law, and not become an advocate, not become an activist, and just do the job they're supposed to be doing.
Enough of a public.
And that, public embarrassment sometimes, and I hate using that term, but sometimes that's what you need to resort to. And when the legacy media is not doing it, you have to use any means necessary to do it, through social media, through paid platforms, and all sorts of creative ways of getting the message out there. You and I work on a client who has an issue in Delaware, and some of the things they've done, trucks, billboards, things like that, to highlight to people that they have problems with. And you know what? It takes a long time, but eventually, it starts to chisel away, and all of a sudden people start.
I'm going to give some examples. Okay, so when I first started learning about this particular case, right? You learn about some things that you're just like, this can't be, right? Not here. This kind of stuff couldn't happen. And over time, the more that you learn, the more that you go, I can't believe that there is such blatant corruption on some ends, and it's verifiably true. I mean, with pictures and with messages, and you could see all of this kind of stuff. I was on phone call a week or two, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and we were talking about company registration. I was working with a brand. It was a Delaware LLC, and they pointed to two incidents of why they wanted to change. One of them was the one that we know about. The other one, my battery says it's about to die. Hang on. Juda, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fascinating, and the types of tricks and insights and everything that we are getting for companies dealing with serious crises. But before we go, I want you to have a chance to tell people, how do they contact you? How do they find you? If someone is in trouble and needs media, what do they do?
Ghostbusters, who are you going to call? So I'm very reachable, Herald PR, HERALDPR.com, or my email address is Juda, Juda, no H, Juda @heraldpr.com. I'm reachable by my email. People reach out to me all the time. I respond to everything. Sometimes a delayed response, but almost always a response. Look us up on the internet. I'm on Twitter. X. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. If you put my name in, Juda Engelmayer, into any search engine, you'll have no problem coming up with me and coming up with a dozen ways to contact me.
Well, Juda, we appreciate your time, your insights, and we can't wait to have you back on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it.
All right.